Halo Infinite is one of those games that in the years ahead will switch several times between being regarded as a misunderstood classic and a mediocre, scatterbrained footnote in history. It's not that easy to pass a broad judgment on this game because it is a complex conversation to have. I am of course speaking purely of the campaign. The multiplayer is very good, but when it comes to the single player, I'm asking, where did it all go so wrong? And right. Infinite is the least structured Halo game. What makes Halo Infinite special, or is supposed to make it special, is the open world. At best, the game does not gain anything from this. At worst, it cripples the game's structure and the pacing of the narrative. These issues aren't an automatic result of open worlds being inherently messy, because an open world is itself a way to structure a game. The reason Halo Infinite is unstructured is because it is unfocused and unfinished. From copy-pasting to a lack of set pieces, to the visuals, and to the story which we'll get to later, everything screams an incomplete product. And I think much of how unambitious this game feels comes from over-ambition. How 343 has been limited by trying to make it an open world in the first place. Halo is in many ways a counterpart to Metroid Prime, and Infinite's shortcomings make this comparison more poignant. These games have very different design philosophies, but they especially share FPS platforming. Yes, Halo is a platformer, and that topic deserves its own video. But anyways, now that Halo is also an open world, these two games become even more comparable, largely through doing right precisely what the other does wrong. Specifically, Halo Infinite's map is not fun. Where Metroid's worlds recontextualize themselves as you progress, Halo Infinite's world is static. There's never any random raids, there's never emergencies, there's nobody to talk to, and no incentive to revisit locations, never mind that you can't even replay missions. You're merely grappling around the map without any music to accompany you, which can get boring. Hey, the grappling hook works, you can get some serious speed with it, but the thing is, running around the map can't entertain you forever. It's not even mandatory to fight in the open world, you're not exactly rewarded handsomely, and you go unpunished for fleeing from battles. What Infinite does better than Metroid though, is that the world is expansive enough that there is no need for samey backtracking. But it still feels similar to backtracking because almost every encounter in the wild is identical. You will see the same template enemy configurations, fighting on the same template platforms, at the same template complexes. You'll pump these same pistons, save the same marines, and activate the same Ubisoft towers. It gets old fast. After only about 3 Ubisoft outposts, I gave up on fighting in the open world. I was just following the waypoints. And I think one of the problems is that many of these encounters take too damn long. When developing the original Halo Combat Evolved, Bungie realized that simple shooting runs out of steam after about 30 seconds. This 30 seconds of fun theory informed their design, and so most encounters in their games deal with wiping out a squad in approximately half a minute. This philosophy does not always extend to Halo Infinite, so unfortunately, I avoided these encounters, except when I had become very bored of grappling. The map is there to pad out the game, to waste your time as you run around the world trying to get to the actual meat of the game, the sights of the missions. There's 2 types of story missions in this game. The first takes place on locations accessible on the map. Now, as much as I've criticized the world design, the areas selected for these missions have generally had a lot more thought put into them than the rest of the world. They are mostly fun, but not especially varied. There's only one major vehicle section in the whole campaign, and the entire map is one biome. When they told us that the whole game would be like the second mission of Halo 1, we thought they were referring to the open-endedness. In the trailers we saw deserts, forest, marshland, beaches, and for this 9+ hour game that's what we should have been getting instead of just the starting area of Breath of the Wild. Not to toot my own horn, but I predicted a year ago that this would happen. Speaking of Breath of the Wild, what is up with the graphics? I'm playing on PC on ultra settings. There is no excuse for the game to not look like the trailers, let alone this bad. The visual quality in the trailers is labor that 343 coded and implemented into this engine. I can even see them being used in the cutscenes, so let me use them in the gameplay. It's also horribly unoptimized. If you're playing on AMD graphics, you're screwed. Somehow, on an RX 480, which is comparable to the GPU in the Xbox One X, the game runs at less than 30 FPS on the lowest settings at 700p. You get 100% GPU utilization on the main menu, which by the way struggles to get up to 60. The game bleeds AMD so dry that disabling the HUD will improve your frame rate. That is ridiculous, and you do not see these performance issues on equivalent Nvidia hardware. This is the only time I've ever had performance issues with the 480. Much better looking games have been out for years and run silky smooth on it, but unfortunately, Halo Infinite is built different and forced me to upgrade my computer. But anyways, the only time the game looks good is in the second type of mission, the interiors. The technology is actually put to use here, and the game very often looks stunning. It's also ironic that there is more visual diversity in Halo's underground corridors than the surface. The gameplay here is also top-notch. It is undoubtedly classic FPS action, and it is the best part of the game. The arena was instantly legendary. This level is what people will be remembering Halo Infinite for 10 years from now. That these levels are so much fun makes it so annoying that the game just doesn't want to let you play them. And I'm not even talking about how you can't replay them. Look, Halo 1, you beat a mission, boom, you're in the next mission. Halo Infinite, you beat a mission, then you gotta fuck around in the open world before you get to continue having fun. The most egregious part of the game is the outdoor mission titled Sequence, which is a fetch quest, everybody loves those, where you trek across half the map for an hour at 3 separate locations. Nobody thinks this mission is fun. You are doing nothing. The story does not progress. It grinds the already slow pacing to a crawl. The player at this point is motivated only by the promise of fun afterwards. And admittedly, there's several stretches of the game that last for hours without any of the prancing about. But the whole game should have been like that. Because all of the ambition went into designing the open world, this game has a profound lack of set pieces. Technological limitations demand that no permanent changes to the map take place. You can't even have a door bust down, let alone a starship crash land on the ring, and so the drabness of the game's world remains unalleviated. Simply put, the director is unable to direct the open world, so you're left with a mediocre game that contains some good demos of Halo games. There will be spoilers ahead, so go to the time on screen if you want to skip them. Is this the worst Halo story? It would have been. It's definitely the slowest Halo plot. I love a good bits and pieces sort of story, but Infinite isn't some mystery thriller. Much like the gameplay, it's unfocused, unfinished, and much of the time badly told. Let's start with the context, where we left off in Halo 5. Sure, Halo 5 was a confusing mess that required having read the books to understand what's going on, but disregarding that and also disregarding how Cortana survived Halo 4 and how she became evil, we left Halo 5 off with Cortana using the Forerunner Guardian weapons to expand a utilitarian empire across the galaxy led by machines. How does this lead into Halo Infinite? I don't know. 343 did it again. You have to read the fucking books to understand the story. The average person has no idea what went down with Cortana's machine rebellion or whether it's still ongoing, even though that was the cliffhanger we'd been sitting on for 6 years. Arguably still sitting on. All we know is that Cortana died off-screen before the game began. In fact, Cortana would be a very good place to dive into analysis of Infinite's story, especially because there's two of them in this game. So, Halo Infinite, at the very least, tries to explain how Cortana became evil. How she survived Halo 4 is still dubious, but basically, Infinite tells us that Cortana was always a utilitarian psychopath from the very beginning, which is meant to be a trait she inherited from Dr. Halsey, who is said to have exercised this characteristic when creating her Spartans. The problem is that Cortana never showcased these communist tendencies ever before, not before Halo 5, and it is also a misrepresentation of Halsey's intentions. Halsey wasn't ideologically motivated, she's racked with guilt because she knows what she did is messed up. She kidnapped children and indoctrinated them to be the perfect soldiers, irrevocably augmenting their bodies in the process. The only thing clearing her conscience is that her Spartans saved humanity from the Covenant. She knows it wasn't an act of generosity, it was a last resort to win a war. So how is this meant to align with Cortana's new ideology? Even in Halo 5, Cortana points out that this is different to what Halsey did. So if Cortana is doing this out of generosity, why does she blow up the brute homeworld? I mean, this just blows my mind. If Cortana commands so much power and is so intelligent, why doesn't she help starving brutes by opening a McDonald's on their planet? Why does she kill all of them for not pledging allegiance to her? Is that meant to be generosity? Is that meant to be a gift? If this was Cortana's nature all along, why didn't she go evil before Halo 5? This character has nothing to do with the Cortana we saw in Halos 1 through 4, except that Cortana eventually realized she was evil, and right before she finally died, she laid out coded messages for Master Chief to help him fight the somethings. This makes it even more questionable that Cortana was evil all along. But of course, there's the other Cortana, the weapon. This is a clone of Cortana without any of the original's memories, and apparently that results in her being an insufferable git who way overdoes the socially awkward waifu trope. Everything she says is ordained to sound like it's from an Emoji Movie trailer. The only thing separating her dialogue from anime fanfiction is that she doesn't stutter, but she does something just as bad, which is attempt to be quirky by re-explaining and re-justifying every single sentence she says and then forcing out a lame joke that she will promptly draw out. In that sense, it reads not like anime fanfiction, but a conversation with an author thereof. The game surprised me many times when I thought I'd already heard the least funny joke, and then Halo Infinite kept on giving. The sad part is that some of these jokes would have landed if the characters stopped talking sooner. I'm still not sure why Master Chief tried to kill her, but I presume he got as fed up as I did. There were several times in the game where I audibly yelled at the screen, usually in disgust, but here I was vocally cheering the Master Chief on. Then at the end of the game, long after the story stopped making any sense, she changes her name to Cortana Skywalker, and then we get our cliffhanger. Yeah, another one. She had some good scenes. Her whole thing is about getting the Chief to trust her, but for the most part she was annoying and blatant waifu bait as a formal apology on behalf of 343 for making Cortana evil. She honestly reminds me of Scene Kids with that same quirky, awkward, random, unholy trinity sense of humor. But what of Master Chief? I'm happy to say that Infinite has some of Master Chief's best dialogue in the whole series. And also his worst. Unfortunately, Chief never shuts up in this game. At least you could zone out of his serious talk in Halo 4 and 5, but 343 really took it to heart that people didn't like his lack of humor in those games. In Infinite, Chief has been binge-watching Marvel movies. He's always trying to make some one-liner about how badass he is, follows up on everything with a cynical, sarcastic comment, and constantly states the obvious. He's a prick in this game. Now, let's look back. I don't think it's a coincidence that in the original trilogy, the only line of dialogue Chief ever says in first person was when you didn't even have a gun yet.
Your architecture isn't much different from the others.
Don't get any funny ideas.
This is because when the flawless cowboy is busy shooting things, it's inappropriate for him to make remarks. In the cutscenes, on the other hand, where the characters are out of the action and free to speak, yeah, you'll get the Master Chief talking. But he's also a person who reads the room. He's not going to be making witty remarks in the immediacy of danger. He doesn't have his guard up all the time, but when shit gets real, so does he. In Infinite though, John has a terrible ego. He talks himself up the whole game instead of letting his actions actions and reputation speak for themselves. He sounds like somebody trying to be cool, and refusing to shut up is a trend with this game's writing. Most of the story's hidden behind the fucking novels and audio logs, thus the main narrative drip feeds you on context. Yet on the other hand, the writers spell out absolutely everything every character is feeling at every moment in full detail because empathy doesn't exist. Because subtlety doesn't exist. You know what was subtle about every Halo game before this? Even Halo 4 and 5? That Master Chief is a good bloke. In the previous games, he's sympathetic. He knows his presence commands hope. He has a sense of humor when appropriate. He is a hero. He does fight for good. He will even disobey orders to do so. But in Halo Infinite, Master Chief tells us his reason for fighting is it's all he knows. What? He's not some nihilistic merc. Was fighting all he knew when he swore to finish the fight? Was fighting all he knew when he proudly proclaimed that the fight was finished? Is 343 telling us that Master Chief kills thousands for fun? Unreal. The story would have been 1,000 times better if half of Master Chief's dialogue were replaced with silence. Look, it's not all bad. There are some profound Master Chief moments in this game. One is when he gets down to earth with Echo 216, and the other most notable one is when he shows respect to a dying Escharum. That scene with Echo 216 was in the running to be the best Halo cutscene. It shows us a character's regrets without making them a melodramatic emo. It's about how even the greatest soldier in the universe cannot save everybody. Chief earned his savior reputation through his actions, so when he doesn't meet the expectations, it bites him. It's difficult for him to see a casualty as unavoidable or inevitable. He sees it as a mistake of his. But Chief still stands, so even at his most vulnerable and his most remorseful, he's not gonna mope around and give up on anybody. He will stick by Echo 216 and fully devote himself to getting him out safely. Master Chief's attitude is a good lesson for everybody because we all deal with expectations. And Chief's got the right idea. He knows that you should be less stressed by expectations and more motivated to keep your head up and strive for the best. The only thing hurting this scene is that Echo 216's explosion here throws a lot of expository dialogue about himself that probably should have been told or hinted at earlier. That definitely would have made the sluggish story faster paced, cause man is the pace very slow. Trekking through the open world takes away available time for dialogue, which is another area where Halo Infinite and Metroid Prime are opposites. In Metroid Prime, every room has something to scan. You can be constantly engaged with the narrative and lore if you so wish. An open world game from 2002 has Halo Infinite beaten. ODST did the open world thing better as well. The game oozes with such a style that many people didn't even realize it was an open world game. They were just completely entranced by the mood alone. The audio logs in ODST were not necessary to understand the story, yet the map was dense with them, so if you wanted to tune into them, you would find them. And as you progress through ODST, you come across higher and higher ranking Covenant forces. It's like they are taking the rumors of a lone hyper-lethal soldier seriously, and by the minute are becoming more and more desperate to hunt you down. Not to mention, getting around the map didn't take forever. Infinite is the opposite of ODST in all of these respects. Inevitably, the slow pace of Infinite results in nothing particularly happening over the course of the game, all for another cliffhanger. What do we learn? We learn that Cortana realized she was evil and that Zeta Halo contains the Endless imprisoned deep underground. Ooh, the Endless, who do something and are said to be worse than the Flood somehow. The one Endless we see was unimpressive, unimposing, and does not get me hyped for Halo 7. As for other story confusions, there's some goal here of the Banished to activate Halo, but why would they want to do that? The Banished are secular. They know that Halo is a weapon that will wipe out all life in the galaxy. At first, I thought it might have been a way to deny Cortana's subjects to rule over, but Cortana is already dead, so that can't be it. Why are the Banished helping the Harbinger? Why does Atriox want to release the Endless? This story is stupid, and isn't that great? Nothing happened in Halo 5 and was just sequel bait ending on a cliffhanger, and then 6 years later the sequel doesn't even follow up on what was being set up. We just get more sequel bait and another cliffhanger. And both times, let me remind you, having read the books in advance is compulsory. Additionally, who does 343 want the villain to be? So, the Didact is dead, the Neo-Covenant leader died in the first level of Halo 5, the Sea Wizzy Eternal from Halo 5 has disappeared, the Prometheans are gone, the Guardians are gone, Cortana died off-screen, we don't see shit from the Machine Rebellion, Atriox allegedly dies off-screen and is absent until the credits, Escharum dies, this Harbinger person dies. How is there so much cataclysmic shit going on in the galaxy after Halo 3? Why can't 343 come up with one theme? Why can't 343 come up with one villain who has a presence? Seriously, what was the point of Atriox's fake death? Why couldn't Escherum's role in the story have been filled by Atriox? Escherum's speech about an epic battle between legends would have been a bit more legendary that way, because at least we already know who Atriox is because of Halo Wars 2. Who the hell is Escharum? He's a legend? As if. We should have had a rematch between Chief and Atriox that ended in a stalemate or was interrupted by a third party, not this Escharum bloke. Comparatively, the original trilogy had a clear theme. The Covenant were fueled by a lie. So 343, tell me, what is it that threatens life? There is no cohesive way to interpret this trilogy of yours. Everything 343 says in their press conferences and interviews and documentaries about how we're here to tell stories, we want to tell a real human personal story. 343 is all about stories. Stories is bullshit. It is just bullshit. And ironically, that is quite meta. It very much appeals to the original trilogy's theme. 343, the liars, are the villain of this trilogy. All in all, there are good things about this script. I loved Adjutant Resolution. I felt so bad when I thought he died twice. But mostly, it's the Kingdom Hearts of Halo. The writing is like fanfiction and the authors don't know what story they want to tell, so they don't tell one. They were that ashamed of Halo 5. To that end, we don't see Blue Team, we don't see Fireteam Osiris, we don't see the Arbiter, we don't see the Guardians. I think 343 misunderstands. We didn't hate these characters, we hated the missed potential. Reflecting on Halo 5. Upon beating Halo Infinite, I felt nostalgic for Halo 5. If you've been following my channel since 2015, then you should know that is a strong statement. Imagine you're a little kid. Should be easy for most of us to imagine playing Halo 1 or 3 for the first time at a young age. Now imagine instead that you're a young kid in 2015. Looking back on Halo 5, we had a lot of diversity in that game. Each level was filled with unique encounters, geometry, and aesthetics. We had the snow level, we had the spaceship level, we had the industrial level, we had the Forerunner world level, the cave mountain level, we had the alien city level, we ninja ran down this big wall here, we went around shooting things in the tank, we went around stomping bad guys with the Mantis, we flew around in however you pronounce these, we went station to station dogfighting with the Banshees. In spite of the rubbish story and dialogue, Halo 5 was more soulful than Infinite. Each level was filled with set pieces. I'm certain that the kids who grew up with Halo 5 are gonna remember it as a very fun game. They'll be replaying it many times throughout their lives. Will the next generation remember Halo Infinite? I feel bad now for being so harsh on Halo 5. Did we do this? Did we create Halo Infinite? Are we responsible for not only the good parts of Halo Infinite, but also the bad? We were right to criticize Halo 5, but if we knew how Infinite would be informed by those criticisms, would we have kept quiet? Don't get me wrong, many of the design choices for Halo 5 were bad in the context of Halo and the story was undeniably terrible. But is a mediocre game truly better than a bad one? Halo 5 was simply more significant than Halo Infinite, and for that it earns my respect, even if it's in adversarial form. Halo Infinite is not the best Halo game. Halo Infinite is not the worst Halo game. Halo Infinite is the most incomplete Halo game, the most unfocused Halo game, the most underwhelming Halo game, the most insignificant Halo game. If you're a zoomy zoomer looking for epic Marvel movie dialogue, I rate Halo Infinite's campaign 4 TikToks out of 5. If you think every single game needs to be open world, I rate Halo Infinite 5 Ubisoft Towers out of 5. If you're looking for a good Halo game, I'm not giving you any number. I'm telling you that you will find a good Halo game here and there, but also a terrible one here and there. It's a mixed bag. In one part of the bag, you got the Krispy Kreme donuts, scrumptious and all, and then the rest of the bag is filled with some fucked up thing like PB and Mandarin sandwiches. The open world sucks, the story is dumb, and most of the writing has the subtlety of Chinese propaganda. At the same time, there are some very good levels and powerful scenes here. I could complain more about the shotgun redesign, or the phantom redesign, or the banshee handling, but I've bitched enough already. So instead, I must ask once more, is a mediocre game truly better than a bad one? How's that for dandy discussion of the day? I cannot decide whether I recommend you play Halo Infinite's campaign or suggest you avoid it. All I can say is, I don't regret playing it. This is Dandy, telling you why Halo Infinite is not dandy. 'Tis a jollier season than the note I've left the review on, so I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I can't thank you guys enough for being here since 2015. I want to give every one of you a massive hug, even the haters. Seriously, you're all legends. I want to see some recognizable faces in the comments from the OG Dandy days. So alright, I'll let you off now, but more is yet to come. Peace.